Hi there. So I want to take you through a slightly different dough recipe in this video. So you might have seen my basic dough recipe, Dough 101, but this time I want to show you a variation, and that is a dough using a starter. So a starter is basically this, and that's just a mixture of flour and water and a little tiny bit of yeast, equal parts flour and water. And then that kind of stays at room temperature covered in the cling film for about 18 hours, and it bubbles away and it ferments and it starts developing those lovely kind of sourdough type flavours in the bread, in the dough. Then you take your starter after letting that rest for 18 hours and then you add it to the rest of your dough. So I'll take you through really quickly just how to make the dough and add the starter. I'll do it quick because the other video is a lot slower and gives you a lot more tips. But we basically start with 700 grams of flour in our stand mixer here with the dough hook, and to that we're going to next add our water. And we're going to start with some warm water, 105 grams of warm water. And then to the warm water we're going to add some yeast. So I opened this yeast last night because I took a pinch out to add to my starter, but then I'm going to use the rest of it now to add 3.5 grams, and that's basically just under 1 teaspoon. So like a small teaspoon, 3.5 grams. So I'm just going to take that into there. So a small teaspoon, and I'm going to put that into the warm water like that. And then I'm going to take my little whiskey thingy and I'm going to whisk that up to get it all nice and diluted into the warm water. Fine, we'll switch that on to the lowest setting and we'll just put that straight into the bowl. Then on top of that is going to go cold water, 315 grams of cold water. And I'm going to put some into there just to make sure I get any residue of the yeast out of there. And the rest is going to go into the bowl, and that's going to go into the bowl with it. Now the warm water is to activate the yeast and get it going, but the cold water is because we want this to have a long fermentation process. We don't want it to ferment quickly and expand quickly, and that's why we're going to put it in the fridge later. So we're going to let that mix and combine. Combined. It's a bit drier than normal because we've still got moisture to add into it with the starter. So we're going to wrap the starter now, which I said as before is just a combination of 50-50 flour and water, but that's been bubbling away. And if you smell it now, it just smells like pure beer. And you can see how the flavours have started to develop already in your starter. So it's really sticky and wet, but really you can just kind of tease it out and dump it in with everything else there in the mixing bowl. Wow, it smells fantastic. Get that combining together. The next thing we're going to add into our mixture then is our salt and our oil. So we've got 15 grams of salt here, which we're going to add into the mixture. Just take the dough hook out, get it off of the hook, press it into the bottom of the bowl, and kind of make a little well into the dough and sprinkle the salt into the well and all around. So it's got a good chance of combining. And again, just stick that on for a minute or so, just to combine that together. Looking good, coming together nicely. And of course, if you haven't got a stand mixer with a dough hook, you can just do this all by hand. You know, in a big bowl, mixing it around. It's going to take you longer, but it will still be exactly the same. So now we're adding the olive oil, the extra virgin. Make a little well again, and pour that olive oil into your well, and that is 7.5 grams of olive oil going in there. stick it down for another minute or so just to get that combining together. Okay, so that's looking good, and I'm going to take that out off of the dough hook, and it's sticky. That's good. You don't want a dry mixture here, a dry dough, because it's the moisture, it's the hydration that makes all those bubbles grow and expand and give you a light, fluffy pizza. And we're just going to knead it for maybe 2 minutes, something like that. Right, so I think that's about enough kneading really. And what we're going to do with this is now let it rest. So we're going to let it rest under a damp tea towel. And the reason you put it under a damp tea towel is otherwise you get a dry skin like form on top of the dough. And that's not great because we want to divide it up after it's finished resting. So, just like that, leave it to rest for 20 minutes and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so the dough's rested now for 20 minutes under the tea towel, and I've made a start here. I weighed out the dough, so the total weight was 1,260 grams. So I divided that into 6, which was 210 grams, and then I've divided that into my balls here and weighed each one. So each one's 210 grams. And then I've just balled them up. And this really important part of making your pizza bases, getting the weight right, so they're all the same, and then getting this lovely tight top on your ball, like that. And to do it, you just work it, pull it over, stretch it across, and squeeze it underneath, then turn it like 90 degrees and do the same thing again, and just keep stretching it until the top is really nice and tight like a drum skin with no kind of holes or any imperfections in it, and then that's going to keep all the air in nicely. Remember now, that is the top of your pizza, and that will always be the top of your pizza. Now that's balled up and it's going to go into the fridge now. And what I made for myself was a little dough box, which I just made out of plywood and a bit of softwood. So I'm going to take a bit of flour, sprinkle it into the box on the bottom. And I'm just going to set the balls into the box. This is how they make it, you know, in pizzerias. They ball it up, they make it with the starter, they put it in big trays like this, and then they stick it in the fridge. Over the top as well, over each ball. And then we're going to put cling film over that, keep the air off of it. It's not going very well with the cling film. But you're going to do a nice layer that way and then do a second layer the other way as well. So 2 layers of cling film, nice and tight, to make sure all the air stays out of there. And then that is going to go in the fridge. And I've made my box exactly the right size to go into my fridge. And that's going to sit in the fridge for 24 hours. And those balls, they are going to slowly rise and expand, and they'll probably, you know, almost be touching by the time we take them out in 24 hours time. But you've got to think about this as a 3-step process then, making this dough. So you make the starter on day 1, so I made the starter on Friday night, then you make your dough on Saturday lunchtime, and then you make your pizzas Sunday dinner time. And that 48 hours, that long, slow fermentation is going to give you a fantastic dough. So I'll put this in the fridge now, and then the next time will be 24 hours time. Right, so we've got our dough out of the fridge now. It's been there for the 24 hours. And what's really vital is you get it out of the fridge at least 2 hours before you actually want to start shaping and using it, because that lets it just kind of relax. Otherwise you can't work it, it just won't stretch, it kind of keeps springing back. So we've got the dough here, and you can see the cling film is just grabbing onto the dough slightly, but it does pull off really nice and easily. It smells amazing. And there's your 6 dough balls. So they have expanded and spread out. My box is small, so they're touching close together. So a good tip is to use just a scraper like this. And get yourself a bit of flour, get that on your scraper, and then literally cut down the sides of the ball just to kind of detach it from the sides and the ball that it's next to, and then use your fingers and the scraper, and you just get in underneath like that and lift it up. Get rid of that. Bit of flour on the surface. It's ready to go. Ready to shape and put your toppings on and have some fantastic pizza. So check out my other videos for toppings and tips and ideas on that. But that's how you make your pizza dough with a starter.